Have you seen this photograph? On the June 1985 cover of the National Geographic magazine is this photo of an Afghan refugee. Her name is Sharbak Gula, although she is commonly known as the Afghan Girl. It's one of the most widely recognized portrait photographs of all time. The girl's piercing green eyes and haunting glare are both tragic and beautiful, and it was captured by photographer Steve McCurry with a Nikon FM2 and this lens, the Nikkor 105 2.5. And I tell you what, I was floored at how incredible this lens is, even on a crop sensor. And in this video, I'll go over what makes it so special, as well as share a bunch of samples shot with it and tell you why you need to start using vintage glass on your Fuji camera. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more great photography content. Now, as a side note, yes, Steve used the AIS version of this lens. This is the AI version, but upon doing some research, I found out that they share identical optical formulas and thus render identically. And if anything, the rounded aperture blades of the AI version produce a more pleasing bokeh. The reason I got the AI over the AIS? Well, because it was literally half the price. The difference is just in a flimsy built-in lens hood. The AIS version has a much shorter focus throw, so it's a bit harder to get super precise manual focus with it. And it also has better auto aperture control on film Nikon bodies. But that doesn't matter because I'm using it on this, a Fujifilm X-T5. So first of all, it's important to realize what we are dealing with here. So this is a lens from 1977 and it is amazing. Now, using vintage lenses on Fujifilm isn't some big secret. The retro design of the cameras really lend themselves well to using them with old manual glass, but there is something so magical about the way this 105mm lens renders, and as it is on a crop sensor, it's actually close to a 160mm lens. So old lenses tend to be pretty soft wide open and usually have quite strong flaring issues, but honestly, this 105mm lens just has such sensational characteristics. I almost like it as much as the 90mm Fuji. Although the 90mm Fuji is definitely quite a bit sharper and the autofocus means that it's much easier to actually get in-focus images wide open. See, that is probably where this lens's biggest flaw comes in. So it's actually fairly hard to hit focus wide open due to how shallow the depth of field is and how long this lens is. But with a bit of practice and using Fuji's excellent manual focus assists, I got it down to getting most of my shots in focus. So I really like using the focus peaking with the red or blue highlights, and I find that it really helps in nailing focus to use the back scroll wheel to zoom into the image to confirm focus. So when you're trying to focus on someone's eye, that's really, really good. You can also obviously step the lens down a bit at f5.6. It's much less dicey getting images in focus quickly. I will also say as well that having a camera body that has IBIS built in is really, I think quite helpful because of how long this lens is, especially like 160mm, it becomes fairly difficult to handhold and it's definitely very shaky. So either put it on a tripod or get a body that has IBIS and you won't have any issues with using this lens. So I have had a recent fascination with old Nikon Pro SLR gear, seeing as many National Geographic and news photographers used them and captured so many incredible and iconic photographs with them. But ever since I first saw the Afghan Girl photo many years ago, I've always been curious about the camera and lens combo that created such a mesmerizing image. You know, it's like, oh, like what camera did you take? And I know it's like all photographers hate that. And you know, I get it, right? A camera or a lens doesn't necessarily make the photo. So credit to Steve, the man is a damn good photographer, but where is the fun in that? Now, a lens this good, so it's gonna be expensive, right? Like you reckon it's what, 500, 700 bucks? Like with the way I talk about it, it seems like it should be. But the best thing about this gem of a lens is that it's actually remarkably cheap. So I paid just 259 Australian dollars for this one, shipped from Japan off eBay, and the seller even included a cute origami crane and this Japanese candy as well. And I mean, it's in phenomenal condition as well. Like you would think that this thing was like a year old. It definitely doesn't look like it's from 1977. So it was definitely very well taken care of. And the thing I love about buying from Japanese eBay sellers is A, they package very well. B, they're always really overstate the issues that the lens has. So they'll say it's got some dust inside and it'll be like one fleck of dust. So yeah, I always like buying from Japanese eBay sellers, and the fact that they throw in all these candy and like the origami and stuff like that. Sometimes you get like green tea Kit Kats and stuff too. It's just fun. I like it. And also, you know, this magazine wasn't actually too expensive either. This is the original 1985 June issue of National Geographic. Cost me just 29 bucks. I figured getting the real thing was cooler than just throwing the image up on the screen. And also, I mean, you get to check out these really sweet vintage camera adverts. Like, you know, how cool are these? Like, I just love looking at the advertising from magazines of the past. It is a really cool time capsule. Now, to address the question that I'm sure a lot of you guys will have on your mind, why the hell am I not using a Nikon ZF for this video? Well, I emailed Nikon and I asked if they'd lend me one, but they never replied. So, and I, you know, don't have the money to buy one for this video, so hence I'm gonna test it on my X-T5. So to attach it to my camera, I'm using an adapter made by Earth. It's a great quality thing, and I've got a couple of their adapters for Fuji, and I've been super satisfied with them. This isn't sponsored or anything. I just think their stuff is good and fairly okay priced for the quality of it. This is also actually the longest focal length that I've ever tried on my Fujifilm, and I have to say, I rather enjoy the super telephoto nature of it. So the lens is built great with a super long focus throw that makes it possible to focus very precisely with it. And you'll have to be precise because, like I said earlier, it's pretty easy to misfocus with it when shooting wide open. Because, you know, the depth of field is so shallow. So, and also the focus throw is so long that you need to be a little bit careful with it. The aperturing is clicky and satisfying to move, and it's actually fairly compact given how long the focal length is too. So without this adapter adding a bit of extra length to it, it's actually much smaller than I anticipated it to be. So this lens has stunning bokeh characteristics, and I've grown to really love using it as both a portrait lens, but also as a long telephoto when you need that extra reach. It's actually come in very handy for landscapes too. I mean, that insane compression giving you some amazing results. Aesthetically, I think this lens is beautiful too. It would fit on a ZF so damn well. Maybe someday in the future, I'll get one in for review and I'll be able to use this lens with it, but until then, I'll keep using it on my Fuji. And that 40 megapixel sensor on the X-T5 just does wonders with this lens. So I initially thought it might fall apart under the scrutiny of having such high resolution, you know, as I have some vintage Canon lenses, Canon rangefinder lenses that don't really look all that great with the Fuji's extremely high resolution, but this Nikkor 105 is just superb. I mean, at wide open, you do have a little bit of fringing, and it's definitely got some, you know, like, it's got a few problems here or there, but once you set this lens down, it becomes as sharp as modern lenses. And at 2.5, like, there is a little bit of flaring, but it looks great. It's got this vintage character that I think really makes this lens just stand out and makes it as amazing as it is. And I think that this lens really emphasizes just the kind of value that you can get from buying vintage glass and manually adapting it for your Fuji camera. And look, I get it, 105mm is pretty damn long, and maybe it's not your jam, but there are plenty of awesome vintage Nikkor lenses that I'm sure are just as good as this and that are just priced and are priced probably just as well as this too. So I would love to try the 35mm 1.4 or 50mm 1.2 AIS lenses sometime in the future as well. I think they would be great on the Fuji. Have you ever shot with old Nikkor lenses? What's your favorite? I'd love to hear any suggestions because after using this 105, I am sold on getting more. And if you've been after a great, unique portrait lens that has taken arguably the most iconic portrait photo of all time, well, this Nikkor 105mm f2.5 is the lens for you. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.